Okay, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. This course is just for the newbies, whether you're just starting your cloud journey or you've been in the cloud space for a while. So this course is for you. So like I said, you can see my screen, Azure Fundamental, and that is me, just an MCT, Microsoft Certified Trainer. That's who I am. And I help organizations move their workload as well. So are we all familiar with this badge you're seeing on my screen? AZ-900 badge. Are you okay? Just Nelo, right? So if you're not familiar with this badge is about let me just tell you, I think I will have to stop sharing my camera. Sorry. I have to. All right. So it's the entry-level cloud certification, as you can see, for Microsoft Azure, and it has no prerequisite. If you need to take this exam, you don't have to be in tech for a while. You can just spend 2 or 3 days to study your materials and you can sit for the examination. And like I said, it's just the entry. It is not that when you finish this course or you take this exam, you want to go and apply for a solutions architect job. You're not going to, I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not telling you to go and apply as a DevOps engineer yet. However, there is a roadmap. So this is just the entry level coming into cloud, and it's an introduction. So this course is for you if you are new to cloud and if you want to learn the fundamental benefits, adopting cloud service in general. Even for non-technical background, like I said, sales level, if you want to even understand capabilities of Azure and how to build basic solution and deploy cloud services in your organization. Even if you're an executive that just want to understand what your developers are doing, you want to understand what your IT guys are doing, if they really know what they're doing, because you are also managing your resource. The fact that you give all the workload to them to manage for you does not mean you should just look away. You should be able to understand where they are coming from. Why are they charging what they are charging? You should be able to ask questions. If you're an executive, if you're a salesperson, if you're a business person, you should understand, right? So, like the roadmap that I said, I mentioned the roadmap. So if you're new, it is good if you start from this Azure Fundamental. You can see it. I put it as number 1, Azure Fundamental. If you're able to get that Azure Fundamental certification, we say you are welcome to the cloud computing world, right? Then you can either take Azure Administrator as your number 2. You can see it on the screen. And what's the other one? Azure Developer, Azure Database Administrator. You can also delve into data fundamentals. So it now depends on where you feel you want to. Okay, Nello, I can see your hand up.
I think that's a mistake.
Okay, okay, you guys that have your hands up, you can just click the screen. All right. Okay. Thank you. All right. So, like I said, the roadmap that we're talking about. So it is, if you start with these fundamentals, then you are on the right track. It means you already understand what you're coming to do. So if you feel artificial intelligence is where your interest lies, because now this is what I know that is happening these days. Now artificial intelligence is the real, that's the oil, that's where the money is. That's what I heard people say. So people tends to move towards artificial intelligence, and you can't just move towards artificial intelligence if you don't understand the fundamentals, the basics of cloud computing, because you're going to be building some of your resources on the portal, on the cloud environment. And even if you're a programmer, this course is also for you, you know. Let's just move on. So these are the topics we're going to cover during the course of this class. We are going to define cloud computing, share responsibility, cloud models, capital, operation, and costing. the benefits of it, also the types, right? So the first one we want to talk about, is this. Okay. Sorry, I'm using just a screen here. Where's my slide? So if you can see my screen, you can see that I put the definition of cloud computing, which is a delivery of computing services over the internet, enabling faster innovation, flexible resource, and economies of scale. I was talking to Jide a few days ago, and he asked me, are we just going to talk about cloud computing without mentioning cloud? And I was like, okay, but people should know what cloud is. So the question I'm going to bring it to this class, do you understand what this cloud we are talking or we are referring to is all about? Anybody? Do you understand what it means when we mention cloud? I guess no one.
You can type in the chat if you don't,
Please
if you're
type
too
in the
shy to
chat.
speak. Yeah, I think the chat is better because I see some of you forget to unmute your mic.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's type in the chat. What do you think the cloud means? Or what does it depict?
Yeah, I think it's
Okay,
a global network of servers. Like,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Top of mind.
All right. Any other answer? Online database storage. Okay. You will know. So you who mentioned this, Jeremiah? You will know the people that are using the Google Cloud, the Apple Space as cloud storage. That's why he mentioned that, I believe, right? Jeremiah, is that correct? All right, network of computers, right? Network of computers, that's what it just means. Is a network remote servers around the world. Okay, thank you, Swara. So basically, I want to just paint a scenario, just like when you shop for your own computer, right? So talking about this cloud computing, it lets you choose the power and features you need to run your software. That's basically what it means. It allows you to choose the computing power and features you need to run your software. If you're a developer and you have knowledge of cloud computing, then I think you're made in a way, because you don't need to go and beg anyone to host your website or your applications for you. The difference is with cloud computing, the PC is in the cloud, right? That means the cloud provider's data center, instead of physically with you, you don't have it in your house, you don't have it in your office, it is with the cloud providers. And this lets you pay for only the service you use. Plus, someone else gets to manage the upkeep of the computer, and each cloud provider will have their own selection of services to choose from. But the basic service provided by all cloud providers are compute power and storage. As you can see, we have the compute, we have the storage, we have the networking. So what is even compute power, which is how much processing your computer can do? Okay, for example, when buying a home computer, you may choose a computer with 8 gig RAM. I believe some of us have, you've asked for specification before you buy your computer before now. You want to know what is the size of my RAM, what is the size of my processor. So why are you asking that? Because you want to know how fast your computer can work. Whatever you want to use it for, will it be able to host your data? Will it be able to will it be fast enough? Let's say you are into architectural industry, and you have a drawing. I know in architectural space, they do what they call rendering. And after all your drawing, you are now trying to render. And let's say you have just 2 gig RAM in your computer, it was going to take forever for it to render. But if you have more, let's say 16 gig RAM, and your size of your maybe what's it called, hard drive is SSD, imagine what it will do for you. It will be very fast, so it won't slow you down. And you already know that storage is a volume of data which you can store on your computer, right? And a traditional computer has limited hard drive space over time you may have to run out because if you have the storage in your data center in your office, you may run out of data. I mean, yes, out of drive rather. You may need to maybe go to the market. For us that knows where to buy your hard drive, go to the market to order hard drive. When that thing gets filled up, you may still need to order for more, add to that space so that you won't exhaust your data. But you can't keep doing that. All you just need is to, create a space on cloud. And I would like to tell you that Microsoft's so it's not only Microsoft that is using this cloud service, or that own this cloud service. We have other cloud service provider like AWS, we have Google Cloud Computing, GCP, we have IBM, we have Oracle. There are so many of them. We have Alibaba. There are so many of them that have this cloud service. But because most times we hear of Azure and AWS, so people tend to want to learn the ones that are popular. And it will interest you to know that AWS is actually number one in that space, in that cloud space, and Azure is number two, right? Because they have more customers, they own the market, but Azure has gotten to the level of competing with AWS now. So I want to talk about different cloud models. So we have private, we have public, we have hybrid, we have multi-cloud. So first, what do you understand by the word private cloud, which is owned and operated by the organizations that uses cloud resources? So for private cloud, we have the likes of AWS that can create a private cloud for you. Even Azure can create a private cloud for you. Organizations create a cloud environment in their data center. So if you're, let's say, okay, I used to work for a fintech where they have their data center in-house. So they call it on-premise. But for the cloud, that's where you said, okay, there's what we call migration in this space, where you say, oh, is it possible for me to, or is it possible for you to help me move my infrastructure from on-prem to the cloud? It is not that difficult. But if you don't know what you're doing, there are some anti-patterns that you will face. Maybe you just want to read a document and you feel, oh, reading this document should enable me to be able to move my stuff without stress. I will tell you that it's not done that way, right? It needs practice. And you wouldn't want to, let's say, for someone that just have the certification of Azure Fundamental, and you went out there to tell people that, oh, now I'm not a cloud engineer, I can help you do this, just because you understand the process of moving stuff from on-prem to Azure or to the cloud. You are now, parading yourself as, oh, I'm a solutions architect, I'm a DevOps engineer. And people said, oh, okay, good, that's a good job. I would like you to come and help us, move our stuff from on-prem to the cloud. And he decided to go and read the documentation just because it is actually everywhere. The anti-patterns alone will frustrate you, because there are some steps that you would not, it requires you to have experience in that field. And if you don't have it, it will mess you up. Just because you understand fundamental does not mean you have gotten to the level of helping organizations to move their stuff to the cloud. So that's speaking of public cloud now. Public cloud is the likes of Azure, AWS. I told you that they can help you build your own private data center. But most times, your own data center is the ones that your IT engineers or IT personnel is the one they build in-house. That's where they call it private. For the public are the ones that all these cloud service providers gives out to customers. So you can have all your resources in the cloud. Whatever, if you want to have your files in the cloud, and I understand why some fintech or some banks will tell you that, oh, I don't want to use public cloud, just because they are scared of losing customers' information. They are scared of exposing customers because they don't even know who is watching. They don't know how this is being secured. So most times they hesitate to move their stuffs to the cloud, and they stick to having their data and their resources, their infrastructure on-prem, which is still not bad. Just that the money you're going to spend to secure your data on-prem, it's way more than what you will spend when you have your data in the cloud. So speaking of hybrid cloud now, hybrid cloud combines public and private cloud, which allows you to, allow application to run in most appropriate location. So let's say I work for Bank of America, and we have our own in-house data center, and we want to use part of Azure resources just to secure, or to, secure. Let me just use that one because Azure is way more secure than most of these other cloud service provider. So for security reasons, you decide to use part of Azure resources. So using both your in-house data center and the Azure resources that you want to use makes it hybrid. And there's another one that they call multi-cloud. Some call it cross-cloud. From the word multi and cross-cloud, it means you can use different cloud service providers just to achieve one purpose of whatever you want to achieve, right? If you decide to use Azure and AWS, or you decide to use Azure and GCP, or you decide to use Azure and Alibaba, while you're using all this is for you to achieve a goal. And what is the goal? Maybe to secure your data, or maybe to have high availability, or maybe to have elasticity. I'm going to get to the benefits of using cloud service. So cloud model comparison. I mentioned public, private, and hybrid. So in public, no capital expenditure to scale up, but in private, hardware must be purchased for startup and maintenance. Like I said earlier, you must have everything in-house. If it is just UPS, you want to buy UPS just to run your server 24/7, it must not die. If you're in Nigeria, the way NEPA takes light, all of a sudden, and if God wants to catch that person, the UPS too will mess up, and that is the end of your business for that day. So why should you go through this stress when you can use cloud? Here, they said applications and public cloud applications can be quickly provisioned and deprovisioned. That's for the public cloud, and you only pay for what you use. So if you need a server, if you need to spin up a server, you can quickly spin it up and use it, make use of it. Let's say you're a developer and you need a server to host an application. At that point, you know that you don't have to, because if you're using, let's say you're using a normal computer, and your normal computer is using 4 gig RAM, maybe 1.2 processor, and the type of application or the type of workload you're running on that computer, or you want to host on that computer, might not, in fact, the specification or the configuration of that computer might not be able to hold it, which means you won't get the best of the application you're building. So it's better for you to just go to the cloud, spin up a server. If you know that you want 16 gig RAM, spin up 16 gig RAM for test. Spin up 500 gig hard disk, and you're good. Your server is up and running, and you want to host whatever you want to host there. So if it is for test, once you're done, you delete it. So you only pay for what you use. Then for the private, organizations are responsible for hardware maintenance and updates. Like I said, if it is just patching that you want to do, let's say you want to do patching, you go to your server room, you now decide to, why are you even doing that? Just because you discover that maybe the application that is hosted on that server is not giving you the best output, or it is not working at its best, and you now decide to say, oh, maybe let me just restart this server. I know some of us must have experienced that while using your computer. When your computer is just hanging unnecessarily, what do? Sometimes you restart. Is that right? You want to restart it so that it resets the old memory and everything, and it's come back to normal. So that is exactly the same thing that is applicable to you having a private data center. So that your computer is your data center in-house, which is like on-prem. You can do that as well. In fact, you can leave a server running 24/7 for years. That's if you want your application to just be like that for years. You don't want it to have any downtime. You can leave it running like that. So that's the comparison between cloud model. So let's just talk about the capital expenditure and operational expenditure. Like I said, if you're for the capital expenditure, the upfront spending of money on physical infrastructure, that's what it means. Costs from CapEx have value that reduces over time. What do I mean by this? If you have a car let's say the car you have now, you bought the car for a purpose. Let's say you have your IT guys in-house and you decide to buy a car for them just to move resources here and there. You have different offices. Maybe you have one in London, you have another one in Birmingham, and you just want to move those things around. Normal, you need a ride. So the ride you're using, it is part of your capital expenditure because you need that car to be moving your resources from one location to another, right? If you, let's say, for the operation, let me just talk about the operation expenditure, which talks about spend on products and services as needed. You only pay for what you use. In-house, you can't pay for what you use. Don't get me wrong. If you need anything in-house, you must buy, let's say, if you buy an hard drive on-prem now, you buy 1 TB and you keep your data on that 1 TB. I explained this earlier. When the 1 TB gets filled, you want to buy another hard drive just to add to it. So even when you need it or you don't need it, you can't return it. You already have it in-house. So whether you use it or not, you've paid for it. It is not like that on cloud. On cloud, if you don't need it, you don't pay. If it is not needed, there's no point you buying it. Even if you decide to say, oh, just because of elasticity, I'll explain that in a bit. Just because of elasticity, I want to spin up more server. You can still bring it down. Reduce the size of the server you have, right? So that is, and you get billed immediately for it. That's operational. So in a nutshell, your on-prem uses CapEx, while your cloud space uses OpEx. I hope that makes sense to us. I think I've been speaking alone.
Yes, sorry, come again.
Yeah.
Come again.
So if you have your data center on-prem, the kind of expenditure you do is called CapEx, which is capital expenditure. So if you have your data center on-prem, I said on-prem, on cloud, the type of expenditure you're doing is called OpEx, which is operational. You're only paying for what you use. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
All right. Thank you. So for this consumption-based model, cloud service providers operate on a consumption-based model, which means that end users only pay for the resources that they use. This is what I just explained. The ability to even stop paying for resources that are no longer needed. Because if you don't need it, why should you pay for it? In fact, let me start a scenario. Let's say you work for Amazon. They deliver stuffs around the world. And I think November period, they used to do Black Friday. Most of these online commerce website, they do Black Friday. So at the point they're now doing Black Friday, you discover that most of their markets are cheap, or most of the stuffs they sell online are cheap. So people tends to want to order more resources or more stuffs from their website. So by that, they might have traffic, on that website. And if that website is not elastic, maybe is not designed in a way that it can take more workload, what do you think will happen to their website when people rush them to buy stuff?
It's going to be slow and time.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
The website is going to be slow.
One, it will be slow. Not just slow. Thank you. It might crash. So for us to avoid that slowness, crashing, dragging and all of those things, it is better for them to design that website in a way that when more traffic come into them, like if people tends to visit their website, maybe they used to month on month, 50 people visit the website or 100 people visit the website to buy stuff. During the November period when they do Black Friday, they tend to experience 1,000 people to visit in a month, or 2,000 or 5,000. Something that is not designed for that capacity, it will definitely crash. So most times, you as a solution architect, you should think that, okay, I need to design this thing in a way that when more people visit this website, it will still be able to hold it. Imagine Amazon now hosts their website on their on-prem data center without enough memory, without enough hard drive to hold the workload. What do you think will happen to them?
It's a crash.
It will crash, and at the same time, they will now have to shut down that server, go to the market, get more memory to come and install. Now, the time they used to do that, who is losing? They are the one losing. So why not just do this on your computer, on the cloud? Do whatever you need to spin it up immediately. If you discover, and in fact, there are monitoring stuff, tools that you can use to, okay, are people visiting this website more than normal? You should have seen it. Spin more memory, and it will accommodate them. So let's just talk about, I think we are even diving into benefits already. So which we should define what benefit is all about, the cloud benefits. So I mentioned elasticity earlier. I mentioned high availability, right? So if you need your resources to be available for a long time, or your website or your applications to be available for a very long time, it is good if you host it on the cloud. And there's what we call service level agreements when it comes to high availability. How many of us have heard of service level agreement?
Yes, we have. I have.
Okay,
Yeah,
because thank you. Okay, speaking of service level agreement, this is just an industry term, which is not just it's not just cloud that uses it. It is an industry term, which is a formal agreement between service provider and the customer that guarantees the customer a stated level of service. So because the service provider may be a commercial company providing the service like Microsoft, when you use Azure service. But let me just tell you, SLAs are also used inside organization in an agreement. It is not just for cloud service provider. If you have, let's say you are the head of let's say head of IT of your firm, and you know that there are people that okay, let's say you are Jide is head of IT, I am the head of cloud service. So between me and Jide decide to say, guy, this application that we are running must not go down. No matter what happens, make sure this application keeps running. At that point, what am I supposed to do? We need to be able to sit and talk about, okay, we need to draw up this SLA, right? Because if you are able to understand the service level agreement of where we are hosting all this application, we won't have any problem. Because you must have seen head of IT fighting, or maybe talking to like head of development, that guy, you are messing up. This is not how it's supposed to look like. So there is SLA agreement between them, service level agreement between them. So for Azure SLA, which represents, we represent it in percentage, right? And this availability is also known as uptime. Sorry, just a moment. So I said Azure SLA are represented as percentage related to the service or applications availability, and this availability is also known as uptime, like I said. So if the service was always available to you, you would say it was 100% available, or it had 100% uptime. And SLA also commonly includes detail like what is defined as downtime. Because I remember when I was working with the fintech, there is this server, not even server. Okay, it's an internet service that we are using then. Sometimes they can go for 1 hour, and that 1 hour, most of the things that we host inside our data center will be down. So what we do is we record the time that they have the downtime, they experience it, we record it. When they are back up, we put the time. So at the end of the month, we give them this is the number of downtime that we have for that month. So you should understand that if it is not up to if it is not part of the service level agreement that we have, they must refund. I don't know if any of you have experienced that before. Maybe you're using an ISP and they go down for 2 days, and yet they expect you to pay for that 2 days. What will you do?
ISP means internet service provider, by the way.
Yeah,
if you
it's the
guys
same
don't-
thing with it's the same thing like here in Nigeria. Fiber One has been down for like a week, and they said when the technician comes and fixes it, they'll give us back the 1 week that there was downtime. But most
but do you
most don't.
but do you even know the service level agreement you have with Fiber One?
No.
Yeah, just because you did not ask. But I think it is always good when you ask them, what is the SLA? What so that you understand that if you have downtime of maybe 1 hour, I shouldn't hold you responsible for it. I should be able to give you that opportunity to say, okay, you've not breached the agreement. So let's say SLA is of 99% in Azure now. 99.9%, 99.95% are more common in Azure. But there are big differences between all this 99, 99.9, 99.95. There are differences. So let's say a service level agreement of 99% can be unavailable for, I'm talking about the Azure resource now. If you have a SLA of 99, there's a documentation for that actually, which I will share that with you after the class. So if let's say you have an SLA of a resource in Azure of 99%, it means that resource can only be unavailable for up to 1.6 hours per week. So if it is beyond 1.6 hours per week, then you have the right to ask for refund. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Yeah. Is it
There
a
are some
refund on the downtime or refund? Sorry, is it refund on the downtime?
Exactly.
Or refund in general?
No, refund on that downtime. Not just because they can't give you, because okay, let's say you've been using the product for a while and you now decide to say they now have more than one, let's say they have 2 hours downtime for that week. You can't come and be asking them, you have to refund me all the money that you paid, right? You have to do the calculation. What is the agreement that we have with you? 1.6 hours per week. That's the agreement we have, and we've been down for over 2 hours. So they can only deduct the remaining parts of that 1.6 hours and give to you that, okay, this is your refund. I don't even know if they do that in Nigeria. I don't know if Fiber One would pay you.
I don't think so.
Okay, but if you understand your SLA, you should be able to drag them. So for 99.9% SLA, that resource can only be unavailable for 10 minutes per week. I don't know if that makes sense. 99% it can only be unavailable for 1.6 hours per week. But for 99.9%, it can only be unavailable for 10 minutes per week. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Am I
it
too
does.
fast?
No, it's not.
No.
So you
And
can
that's-
see the difference between 99% and 99.9% SLA. 1.6 hours per week. Another one is just 10 minutes per week. If it's unavailable beyond 10 minutes, then they are in trouble. That's how reliable Azure is telling you that this is our availability SLA with you. If you check the product or the service you're running and it's unavailable for more than 10 minutes, then you can just ask for refund. they will definitely refund. In terms of scalability, you understand that scalability, that's what I talked about when I give example of Amazon. When people rushed the website, traffic, and just because you don't want the website to crash, you quickly spin up more servers to accommodate the workload. You can predict what is happening. You can always predict it. That's why you see that benefit of it is also predictability. It is very, very secure. It is reliable. I'm not selling Azure to you. I'm just telling you the benefit because I've experienced them, right? Then in terms of governance, now, so this governance is not the one that Trump is doing. In terms of governance, it is the one that you can design how you want your resource to look like on Azure. You can design, okay, who have access to what, who is supposed to do this. That's where the governance come in, and you can manage all your resources. So let's talk about cloud service type, where we have we are going to describe infrastructure as a service. We are going to describe PaaS, SaaS, and share responsibility as well. How many of us have had IaaS before, infrastructure as a service?
I haven't.
Okay, just one person. So that means we all understand what
No, I
IaaS
haven't.
means, except, okay,
I
just
haven't.
two.
Please.
All right, okay, that's fine. So for let me just show you this. For infrastructure as a service, like I said, most basic cloud computing service, um, they are the one that help you manage your resources. But what is happening in terms of infrastructure as a service, it means for Azure now, let's say if Azure is helping you, or if you want Azure to help you manage your infrastructure, as you can see on the screen, that servers and storage is part of IaaS. Networking, firewalls, and security is part of IaaS. Data center, physical plants, and building is part of IaaS. It means they are the one managing all these resources for you. You don't have to do anything in terms when it comes to server and storage, whatever you're storing on the cloud. In terms of networking, they are still the one managing it for you. You don't have to bother yourself. All you just need is internet to power your own device, right? Then you do what you need to do. Then for the data center and physical plants, we will get to because I will have to, there's a tour that I want to play for you guys to see how Microsoft has been able to secure that their data center, the investment they've made, that they are just selling out that the services to people little by little, just because have actually made that investment. Let's say you build an hotel, and people are coming to that hotel to lodge. So you are only giving them the room per night, and they are paying you. The asset is still yours. So but whoever comes to the room have access to that room. Everything in that room belongs to that person for that period of time, right? That is how this IaaS, infrastructure as a service, that's how it is. They've given you all the things that they need. So you just bring your resources, come and use it. So far, you are going to pay them. They are business guys. I don't know if this IaaS explanation makes sense to you guys.
Yeah, it makes
Yes,
sense.
it does. Just like
So
a
you can
service
see.
apartment.
Thank you. So you can see that by renting servers, you can rent virtual machine, you can rent storage, you can rent networks, you can rent operating systems from a cloud provider. You can rent all those things. That's the IaaS part of it. Now there is PaaS, platform as a service. So for platform as a service, which provides an environment for building, testing, and deploying software applications without focusing on managing underlying infrastructure. So whatever, let's say you spin up a virtual machines now. That virtual machine, and you're now hosting an application on that virtual machine. That virtual machine must be available because you want your application that is hosted on that virtual machine to be available. So it must not go off. So if anything happens to that virtual machine, it will affect your application, and Microsoft will be responsible for it. You can see development tools, database management, business analytics, all these are PaaS service. You can use it to test, deploy software applications without focusing on managing underlying infrastructure. That's for the PaaS. Then for software as a service, you can see the way it's extending. Software as a service, where you have, all you need is your device and your data. Users connect to and use cloud-based apps over the internet. For example, M365. Your emails, that's Gmail. You can use Gmail, you can use Outlook, you can use even your calendar, even your Teams. The Teams that we are using is part of software as a service. Are you aware? Most of us don't know, just because we only use them, but we don't understand how all these things work. I'm sure some of us use Skype. Skype is also SaaS, software as a service. Some of us use Microsoft Dynamics, CRM Online. It is also SaaS, software as a service. So now we want to talk about the shared responsibility model. How is the responsibility being shared between Microsoft, you Microsoft and you as a customer? You can see it in this diagram where it says responsibility always retained by the customer. If you look at the colors below, you see Microsoft light blue, customer deep blue, and you can see where that shared is. Can we all see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes,
So,
we can.
right, thank you. So we are starting from, let's start from the on-prem. That's the extreme right-hand side, where you can see that everything from your physical data center to your information and data. This is what I explained earlier. If you have it on-prem, you are just doing yourself, because your CapEx will be way more than when you have it on the cloud. So imagine you're managing your physical data center. What do you need for your physical data center? Anybody, can you tell me what you need for your physical data center?
A server room, I think.
Yes, please. So what do you need for your server room?
Hardware. There are so many hardware you need to put in place.
Okay, what kind of hardware are we talking about, or what? Because it's not just hardware, but I want us to be specific. What hardwares are we looking at here?
UPS, hard drives,
Okay.
different.
Routers, maybe.
Okay. But all these things will be in a space, right?
Yeah.
Let's say in a room. And do you know how the room should look like? It must be very cold. If you want to put, I don't know if there's anything like 3 horsepower AC. If there's anything like that for one room, you should put it there, because you don't even want your assets to be in any time be hot. They must be cold as always. If you buy maybe a phone or anything, they will tell you keep in a cool, dry place. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And that is what is applicable to all these devices that you're buying as well, that you're going to put in your data center. You should be able to keep them in a cool, dry place. Talking about physical network, someone mentioned router. If you need to network all the computers that you have in your server room, you imagine what you are. If you're into networking, there is what we call creeping. Do you know how many cables you will creep just to network all the computers together? It can take you days to build a small server room. Imagine physical hosts. Physical hosts are the CPUs, right? Now talking about the operating system, where you want to go and buy Windows Server. Maybe you want to go and buy Windows Server 2025. You want to go and buy Ubuntu 2402. You want to, so network controls as well, applications, identity. There are so many things you need to put in place if you have your resource on-prem. Now we are even talking about setting up we need someone to secure that room. It is not just to lock the room, because anybody can open the lock. Anybody can pick lock. You need someone to still mount it, to be watching that. Okay, I know I've been to Airtel server room before. Yeah, in Jalaiami in Victoria Island, where I see how security mounts their server room. I don't know if they are still there, but if you've been to Oyinjola in Victoria, it's just opposite the hotel. You see Airtel server room. That's the street they are. You see how security mounts the server room. The old building, from the gates, security, from the gates to the lobby to where you have the server room, every step in that building, there's security, because they don't want you to just tamper with their resource. So speaking of what Microsoft can do for you, if you are for the IaaS, that's infrastructure as a service, Microsoft is offering you that physical data center. Don't stress yourself. Don't worry, we have the building, we have the AC, we have the security. Your resources are safe. Don't bother yourself. For the physical network, the networking aspect, don't bother yourself. Microsoft is telling you we are good. We are capable. We are helping you. For the physical host, oh, don't bother yourself. We are good. That's for the Microsoft. That's if you subscribe for the IaaS, infrastructure as a service. If you are now using platform as a service, Microsoft is telling you that don't worry, we got you in terms of operating system. However, when it comes to network control, it is a shared responsibility. Part of the network controls, you are going to take it. Part of the network control, customer, we are going to help you with it. For your applications, if you subscribe for platform as a service, they are still telling you that part of your application, no, you are going to take responsibility. You are going to be responsible for it. And part of your applications, if you feel is a security aspect that you want, we can help with that. Also, for the identity and directory infrastructure, they tell you that, oh, you know what? We won't allow anybody to just access your data. We are putting, that's where you see manageability and all those things. We are putting all this identity and governance in place for people not to just have access to all those things. But at the same time, you are supposed to do your part. And they have three other parts. They said account identity is your problem. Device, mobile, and PCs is your problem. We are not the one to buy computer for you. Your information and data is your problem. You should be able to keep them. Do you understand? Because people will need to authenticate before they can even access your resources or your application. Now, talking about software as a service, Microsoft is telling you that for your physical data center, physical network, physical hosts, operating system, network controls, applications, we got you. Don't stress yourself. That's why you see for Skype, all you need is to just give your what's it called? Just sign in. Sign up for the Skype and you're good to go. However, they are telling you that The account you used to sign in, you should keep it. It is your problem. The device you are using to sign in the Skype, it is your problem. The information you have on that Skype, it is your problem. You should keep it. Why do you think they are telling you that your information and data is your problem? In all of this, they are telling you that device is your problem in all of this. For the SaaS, for the PaaS, for the IaaS. Why are they saying all this? Can anybody answer that? Am I speaking to myself?
In my own
Probably they don't
opinion,
want to be liable.
What did you say?
So they don't want to be liable for any data loss or something like that. And they are not buying you a
Okay.
phone anyway.
Thank
I
you.
think
Okay. Yeah, go
these
ahead,
are
Afolabi.
these are the models that have to do with human interface, and they won't be able to. They can't control what they can't see, basically.
Yeah.
Information. So this basically deals with human interfaces.
Okay. Any other person? But do you all believe that Microsoft cannot even see what we do on our? Do we all believe that? I'm just curious. I'm not saying they do. I'm just curious. I want to know. Do you all think they don't have access to what we do on our devices? Because after all, they are the one that owns the physical data center. They own the physical network. They own the physical host, the operating system, the network. Too much. Now I'm now doing something on my Teams, and they are telling me they don't have access to what I do on Teams. I'm just curious. I don't know if they can. I don't know if anybody think it that way. Can we trust them that they don't have access to what we do? Anyways, that's just a question
I
for
think
us
they
to
have
ponder
access.
on. What did you say, Wilfred?
I said I think they have access to
Well,
our
they are not specific about that access. They are telling us that is a problem. So they are telling us they don't have access. But I'm just curious. That's why I asked that question, because I feel when you have so much access to all these things, and I only use it on my device, so you're telling me you don't have access. Okay, no problem. I believe them just because they say they don't have access. I just
If you
decide to
say
believe them.
so.
Yeah. So I believe them just because they say so. Yeah, you're right. So let's just talk about the service comparison. So for the IaaS, infrastructure as a service, we call it IaaS. They said the most flexible cloud service, that's the IaaS. And for the IaaS also, you configure and manage the hardware for your application, right? If you want to use a virtual machine, you are the one to configure the application on that virtual machine. You are the one you are the one to spin it up. You are the one to tell the virtual machine the number of memory you want. For the PaaS, they are saying focus up on application development only. Now for PaaS, I don't know if if you're familiar with Azure, you know that you can actually build a website just on the portal. You can just go to the portal, and I think I need to show us how that works. Can just go on the portal, and so when I want to do a lab, I will show you all that so that I can tell you where you as an infrastructure as a service, and what PaaS is all about and what SaaS is all about. We all know SaaS already, which is what we are even using for this training, which is that Teams is software as a service, right? So knowledge check. I want us to answer this question. Which cloud model uses some data center focus on providing cloud service to anyone that wants them, and some data centers that are focused on a single customer? So let me just see your answers. A, B, C, which one?
Only one
Someone
answer.
said private cloud. Who is that? Wilfred. Olamilekan Wilfred. Okay. 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 Okay.
Let's
Okay.
go.
Hmm.
Answers.
Please drop your answers, guys.
Don't be shy.
Please read the question carefully. Read it carefully. For those of you that have answered, you can still go back to that question and understand the question.
Okay. Let's take 2 more answers and then we continue.
Okay.
2 more people. Good. 1 more. Who hasn't answered? Okay. Cool.
Okay, so let me just break this down for us. For those of you that have answered, and I see so many wrong answers. Now they are saying which cloud model uses some data center focus on providing cloud services to anyone that wants them. Anyone means public, right? They now continue and say, and some data centers that are focused on a single customer. What are you saying? Anybody can use it, and some single customer can as well use it. So combination of public and private is what?
Hybrid.
What is the answer? Jennifer, okay, it's only Jennifer that understand that answer. Okay. Hybrid. Thank you, Charles. So the answer to this question is hybrid. I don't know if that makes sense to us.
Yeah, it does now.
Yeah, it does.
All
Good,
right.
good, good.
Thanks, guys. And moving on, we have architectural components. So from these architectural components, we might do a lot of labs, because I feel since the beginning of the class, you guys have not even seen how this cloud platform that this guy has been talking about, how does it look like? What is it talking about? Is it just speaking gibberish? We are not even sure if this exists. You know, so the introduction. So the next one is we're going to describe Azure regions, region pairs, sovereign regions, availability zones, Azure data centers, resource and resource groups, subscriptions, management groups, hierarchy of resource groups, subscriptions, management groups. Okay, so why I said I would have to, so I'll be going into the Azure platform and coming out, because I want us to have like a full grasp knowledge of all these things, not just to be talking about it without getting the whole picture, how it looks like. So let's move on to Azure regions. So a region represents a collection of data center, and they provide flexibility and that skill that we need. So if let's say you can see this region on the screen where you have availability zones, you have availability region, available region, and announced region. So you can see where Microsoft have all their resources, the regions, they have their data center. You can see West US 2, they have it here. You can see China North, you can see Norway East, you can see Spain Central. They are just everywhere. You can see Southeast Asia, you can see Australia Southeast, South Africa West, South Africa North. I don't even know where all those ones are. Anyways, Microsoft has wowed us. They have their data center everywhere, right? So be aware of region deployment availability. You can select regions close to your users. So if you are deploying your own resource, all you just need to do is, where am I? Am I in Brazil? So which region should I pick? Okay, let me just pick Brazil South. So you can see that Brazil South somewhere. Or where are you? Am I in Australia? Let me just pick one of this Australia region, or New Zealand North. You can just pick any of those regions that are closer to you, just because they said they provide with 60 plus regions representing over 140 countries. I can't even, how many countries we even have in the world? I don't know. Anyways, they have regions representing over 140 countries. So anywhere you are, just know that Microsoft have their data center close to you. If they are not in that state, they have it close to you, so which you can pick the region while you're deploying your resource. So now, speaking of availability zone, here you can see the 3 pictures that we have: availability zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. What does this even mean? Now, they tell us that it provides protection against downtime due to data center failure. And they also said it's physically separate data centers within the same region. And each data center is equipped with independent power, cooling, and networking. You know, that's what we talked about when we were discussing about the physical data center, that if you're renting an apartment, you should be able to have AC, and that AC should cool all the devices you have in there. Connected through private fiber optics network. Those of you using fiber one, imagine. They said this is connected through fiber optic networks. I don't even know if that's a good example. Anyways, for the Azure region, you can see the availability. So for all these boxes, they are like racks. I don't know if you can see the screen well. You can see FD0, UD0, FD1, UD1, FD2. Can we all see in that availability zone 1? Can we see that?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Yes, we
So
can.
the question you should ask me is, what does this even mean? FD, UD, what's all this? It's technical jargons, really. But FD means fault domain. Now, I don't just want to talk about this because it's like a presentation, which is a standard presentation that Microsoft MCT uses. But I want to show us how it looks like in the space of on the cloud itself. How does this work on the cloud? Where do we have access to? Maybe some of you must have tried to maybe even open, what's it called, Azure portal. But before I even get to this place, if you have your system in front of you, I would like you to try and register for Azure Cloud Service. So because the essence is, I just want to see if you can register for it. I want to see the challenges that you're facing. If you have your computer in front of you, if you can do that, just let me know. But if you can't, it's still not a problem. But if you can, I would like you to just follow me as I'm doing this. I just want to be sure that you can do something with, because I want us to have like a good time in this class, not just talking and sharing slides. All right. So if you can see my screen, so if I'm putting on that, see portal.azure.com. If you can access that, please let me know. If I let me come to in private here. Do we all have access to that?
We're trying to do that.
Okay. So the reason why I want us to try this is because I want us to be able to, or let me ask this question. How many of us have this Azure account before, prior to this class, or you have it before now? Because I want some of you to go away with this registration today. Like, you can register it, it's free, right? You can register, and maybe when you're free, you can try your hands on it. You know, if you have access to that portal before now, let me know. Nelo, you want to say something?
No, I don't have anything to say.
How many of us have access to this portal? Nobody. Okay, but you can see that I type portal.azure.com.
Yes.
So do we have the page open?
Yeah.
All right, so just go and create it. Create one. So if you know you don't have email account you can use, you can decide to just get a new email address from here. That's how cool this is. You can decide to get a new email address. So while you're doing that, I want you to just try it on your own. If you are able to create that account, good. If you're not able to create it, I believe we are still going to have time together to try that out. But I just want us to do something in that regard. So back to class.
Are you speaking, Neyo? Because we can't hear you.
Oh, so sorry. I've been speaking on mute. So
Yeah.
sorry, guys. So sorry. So you can see these are the services that we have on Azure. So many of it. Let's start from the line of AI plus machine learning. So, like Jide said earlier, if you're interested in anything, just find where your interest lies, where what you think will, because whatever you do, you should know that it's something that you will enjoy doing. I enjoy building solutions, right? I enjoy working with this platform. I enjoy helping customers deploy. So I think I find joy in doing all this. So if you know that, and I think the reason why I find joy in doing this is because maybe I'm just a lazy person. I don't like going out. I just like staying indoor. If you're like me, maybe this is a good thing for you. Stay in your house, make your money, and live your life, right? So whatever you want to do, you can see these are the services you have on Azure. From AI machine learning, we have analytics. When I shared the roadmap the other time, I showed you the roadmap where that this is the first thing that you need to learn, Azure Fundamental. When you learn this, every other thing on Azure will be like a walkover. You can easily, delve into data management or data science, whatever you want to do. You can decide to go into artificial intelligence and start building applications, right? You can decide to go into analytics. You can decide to go into DevOps and so many other things like that. So now you can even see Internet of Things. I'm sure some of us that are living in one, if you've been to a a service apartment that is automated, you will see where they use all these Internet of Things. In fact, Internet of Things is part of, I believe some of us uses iPhone, where you can just tell Siri. I'm sure if I shout Siri now, my phone will want to give me attention. So if you shout Siri, play a song, all of a sudden your Siri will start, those are the things that, because those are the things that you can build them on Azure platform. I'm sure you must have seen how they work, but you don't know how they come about. You don't know why people are doing it. And believe me, this world is, tilting towards artificial intelligence in everything they do. Nobody wants to come and be building software from the scratch any longer. I would like to tell you this. I'm not a software developer, but I can tell you I can review codes. In fact, I'm going to work with codes during the course of this class, but I'm not that does not make me a software developer. But all I need to do is to fork that code on GitHub and work with it and deploy. And that is it. And we are going to get something interesting out of this class. So this is for Azure services. So I was talking about the FD and UD that I showed you, which I mentioned is fault domain. Yes, fault domain. So they are all technical jargons, but we can just see how they work. No, now, so I'm trying to now build, let's say I want to deploy a virtual machine on Azure. All I need to do is, they are all on availability. They are all on availability sets. So if I have something like this, let me just call this on testing RG. This is how they work. Let me just give anything here. Now, if I decide to pick, okay, so if I decide to pick this, I want to show us something. Can you see fault domains and update domain?
Yes.
Now, this is from the presentation, right? What does fault domain, what does it do? Can you read? Virtual machine in the same fault domain share common power source and physical network switch. How do you think this will work if you decide to go ahead with deploying this virtual machine? and I decide to give it fault domain, maybe increase the number of fault domains. So it means if I have more virtual machines in the same fault domain, anything that happens to one virtual machine, it affects all the virtual machines in that fault domain. I told you it's like a rack. Fault domain. Can you see? Can you see where that fault domain is? Or do I need to point to it? Can you see my cursor on your screen?
Yes, you can see.
Yeah, so you can see where the fault domain, where I'm pointing the cursor, right?
Yes.
So like rack. So anything that happens to one virtual machine in this rack, if one of these virtual machine goes down, if there is any power issue or network issue, everything in these four domains go down. You'll be wondering, why would Azure do this? In our local palace, you get why. Right? So there's a reason for all this. You can see this is just for availability zone 1. There's availability zone 2, there's availability zone 3, and all of them have their own fault domain. So if you now decide to build a resource and that resource go down, it is your fault. Because you have different availability zone and you decide to just choose one. So if you decide to choose one without utilizing what they have, like 2, 3, because if you pick 2, if you pick 3, then you should be able to say, okay, if this server goes down, then this machine should be able to fail over to this availability zone 2. If this zone 2 go down, then it should be able to fail over to this zone 3. Are we following? Does that make sense? Or I'm still speaking jargons?
Sorry, please, can you come in?
Okay, interesting. I said for these FD, availability zone 1, you have availability zone 1, you have fault domain in availability zone 1. So this safe in this availability zone 1, let's call it a virtual machine. If this virtual machine have power issue and it goes down, it means everything in this fault domain will go down, just because you did not utilize this availability zone 2. So you can set up this availability zone 1 with availability zone 2 with availability zone 3. If you decide to stick to zone 1 only, I will show you where that works. And something happened to all your machines, it is your fault because you didn't utilize all these ones. But if you decide to utilize all this while you are deploying or your resource, it means when anything happens to this, it will fail over to this. What do we mean by failover? It will by default switch to this other availability zone. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
If it doesn't make sense, let's go to that platform again. So you can see availability zones. And I decide to say zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. Can you all see that?
Yes.
So if I decide to build my infrastructure picking just one, what is my gain? Because if anything happens to that machine, all the machines in that zone will go down. But if I decide to utilize this, because I have them, if I decide to utilize this, I have all the machines now. I have other machines that it means if this machine 1 fails, it by default goes to machine 2. If machine 2 fails, it by default go to 3. That means my workload switch to another machine. So in essence, if your application fails, it means you are the one that did not do justice to your deployment, because Microsoft has given you the opportunity to use different zones. I hope that makes sense to us.
Yes.
So what is fault
Yes,
domain? You can see what fault domain. They said virtual machine in the same update domain will be restarted together during planned maintenance. Azure never restart more than one update domain at a time. So let me even minimize this. So you see this update domain. So if update domain, this UD0 or this one, if one of them restarts, by default, another machine should keep working. Nothing should happen to your workload. That's the essence. If you have a website that you've hosted on a machine and that machine restart, maybe due to patching or due to planned maintenance, you should it should be able to keep your workload running. if you've set up your configuration properly. That's why I said, so there are so many anti-patterns, so many misalignments, missteps that you can take if you decide to just go into deploying infrastructure without following the proper step or doing the proper thing, due diligence, right? So let's move on. Any question regarding this availability stuff? Any question?
I mean, I
Can we
just
go on?
wanted to,
Okay, go ahead.
yeah, I would like to, yeah, you mentioned something about using all the zones as
Okay.
against using just one zone. Is there a
Yeah.
reason why someone would just decide to use one zone without utilizing the other zones? Or if that happens, would it be like an oversight?
It is not oversight. So let me tell you. Thank you. That's a good question. Let me tell you why someone would just decide to use. In fact, if you ask me a question, I think it will make the class interesting. I love that. Thank you. So if you decide to use zone 1, it means you are minimizing costs. Because anything you do on Azure, now money. If you decide to pick the 3 zones, it means you want your workload to be running 24/7 without interruption. So if you're now trying to save costs and you decide to use just zone 1, you're on your own, because if anything happens to your workload, it is your fault because you are trying to minimize costs. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and I feel like it's
Yeah,
just
it
in
does.
case of having hard drives, and if you have a backup hard drive and the main one crashes, you have like a backup.
Stuff like that. Thank you. So if it is not oversight at all, it is you just doing Ijebu. You decide to pick one without using the others. So let's move on. Any other question? All right. So let's talk about region peers. Microsoft is telling us that at least 300 miles of separation between region peers. So what are the regions that are peered in Microsoft, or how do they peer it while deploying workload or infrastructure stuff? You can see that this first part where you have region North Central US, it is paired with South Central US. I don't even know the distance, but I can tell you, because of what Microsoft said, they are telling us that at least 300 miles of separation between this region. At least. If you want to measure it, if you're in any of these countries, you should be able, if you can, please try it out. All right. So they said North Central US to South Central US, they have at least 300 miles of separation. They said East US to West US, they have at least 300 miles of separation. Canada Central to Canada is at least 300 miles of separation. That means it can be more than. North Europe to West Europe, at least 300. UK West to UK South, at least 300. Germany Central to Germany Northeast, at least 300. So they said automatic replication for some services happen here. So because if you've been able to pick your regions wisely and anything happened to North Central, by default, Microsoft should be able to replicate your workload or your infrastructure to South Central so that your workload keeps running. Anyways, you are the one to still set it up during your infrastructure or during your while you're building your workload. So then they now mention that you prioritize region recovery in the event of outage. There is a recent outage that happened. Was it 2-3 weeks ago? I don't know if you guys are aware. They call it where most of Microsoft's servers were down. The thing trended. I don't know if you guys are aware. Where so many servers had blue screen, even airports, they could not issue the people, they had to write boarding pass like with biro just because people could not access their systems. Are you aware? Just like less than 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
You guys
last
are
week.
aware. Was it last week?
Yeah,
No.
like 2 weeks max.
Yes, 2 weeks. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
2 weeks. Because I could remember 2 weeks ago. So many people reached out to me and they were like, oh, I have blue screen, BSOD, blue screen of death. What can I do? You know, And that happened because it was a CrowdStrike. And what is CrowdStrike? It's a third-party tool for security, which Microsoft use for all their servers. But mostly, Microsoft is not even the one that installed those CrowdStrike. They are the customers that decide to say, oh, CrowdStrike, because CrowdStrike is like number 2 cybersecurity tool that they use in protecting servers. I think Palo Alto is number 1. CrowdStrike is number 2. I don't know if you've heard of all these names before, but I'm just giving it out there so that you know what you're getting yourself into. It is not this deep, because once you know it, you know what you're doing. You have no problem. So in the recent, let's say in the event of an outage, you should have a failover region that will take up your workload. And what Microsoft does is that they said updates are rolled out sequentially to minimize downtime. So they won't just come and tell you, oh, we want to do update maintenance on in UK West and in UK South at the same time. It doesn't make sense. If it happens, you have to sue Microsoft. Need say so. Any question on that? So Azure sovereign regions, this one makes sense because the fact that Microsoft have their own data center, their physical data center, their physical host, everything, there are some government agencies that says, see, we don't want to use what all of your customers are using. We want to have our own data center, or our own region rather. We should have a special region. So they call it special region. And sorry, sovereign region. So we call it special region when we are deploying that. Okay. That means if I'm working for US government now, I know that I must not go and deploy any of US government's workload in general region. I must stick to the sovereign regions for US government services. Does that make sense to us? Because these regions are physically isolated from non-US government deployments, accessible only to screened authorized personnel. And let me now shock you. There are some regions that of US government agencies that are not even pronounced. We don't know. And you know how the US they are secretive about most of their things, just because they don't want people to come and blow their data center. So we don't even know the regions. Some of those regions, I think 3 or so, we don't know. It's only known to top Microsoft officials and the engineers that work in those regions, because they are strictly US government's property. You understand? Even for China are telling us, oh, you know what? This region, this sovereign region thing, we need to have our own. So there is this via net 21 via net. You can see physically separated instance of Azure Cloud Service operated by 21 via net. In China, Microsoft is not the one managing their sovereign regions for them. So the people that operate the ones in China they call them 21 via net. I don't even know what that means, but I think it is part of there are these tech guys, big tech guys in China. They are the one that manages Microsoft region, Azure region for China. And they said all data stays within China to ensure compliance. You know how China can be greedy with some of their workload. They said strictly everything stays in China because of compliance. They don't want trouble. They don't want problem. So now I want us to this is like a walkthrough, how the global infrastructure, how it looks like. Let me do this. So this is just like a global infrastructure. So let me just open that. So I just want to show us how their data center and everything looks like. So if you know that it is something that you can decide to build on your own, you're free. If it is something that you can decide to invest in, if you feel Microsoft is not doing justice to building a data center, if you feel, oh, these people are not trying, why should they have things like this? Let me now shock you. Are you aware that Azure have data center in space? Are you aware? Guys, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
it has.
So is this a news to you that they have data center in space, or you are aware
Yeah.
before now?
I'm
News to
not
me.
aware.
Okay. So this is how the world, where they have all their data centers and they communicate with people in the space. So let's just take a tour. It's like a tour guide now. I just want to see how their virtual data center looks like. So we see the investment they've made. We see how their lobby look like, how their server room look like. You understand? So that we know if it is something that we can replicate on in our organization. Let's say if you work for a fintech and you want to, oh, don't worry, we don't want you to join all these public cloud guys. I want us to build what Microsoft built. Can we do that? So if you can, then you can see, I think this one is loading. This is how their data center looks like. Maybe you have the money to do that. You can see all this solar. They use solar, renewable energy, and they are even telling you that by 2025, Microsoft will have power purchase agreement for 100% of carbon emitting electricity consumed by company data centers, buildings, and buildings and campuses. So it means by 2025, the world would have been a better place if they keep up with this. But we don't know how true is that anyway. They're talking about carbon usage as well. Microsoft will be carbon negative by 2030. And by 2050, they will have removed more carbon from the environment than it has emitted since its founding. That's another tip. This is another tip, community initiative. But do we even need to check all this? Let's just even enter their lobby because I can't wait. I want to see what they have. What have they built that they are so proud that they feel they can just, be making money off everybody in the world? Because really, these guys are making money. Because you can't just deploy a virtual machine without making payments. You're paying them whether you like it or not. So let's see their lobby. They said the cloud is an engine that powers our daily lives. I don't care. I know. So explore lobby. Let's just see what their lobby looks like. I know some of your lobby in your office might look like this, right? So, but this is just for Microsoft's data center. So you can see the infrastructure where people can sit. You can check everything here. What's this one? So they are still now telling us that they have data center in the deep. There was a news in, I think last year or 2 years ago, where they were talking about data center underwater. I don't know if we all heard about it. Hello, are you there?
Yes, please.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Imagine a data center underwater.
Yeah. Are we watching the video now, or
Yes.
are you speaking? Okay.
No, it's just the video.
Okay.
Okay, let's just move on. So what the essence of playing all this is just for us to see the investment Microsoft have made, right? To show you that they are capable of securing your data and securing your infrastructure. Let's see how their server rooms or the operations room look like. You can see where they have big screen, where they have all this. Even mechanical area. Let's go to their mechanical area. What do they have there? Because these people are really making money. I don't know. We are just trying to see what the kind of investments. Imagine. So if you think your company can actually compete with them, maybe they should invest in this too, because people want security, people want stability, right? So you can see what are these ones? Maybe generator, I don't know. You can see the fence and security they are somewhere. In fact, there are cameras everywhere. They don't need to be on ground. So before they can be on ground, it means someone is trying to break in, right? server room. I think this is all I can show you about this their tour. Let's move on to the next class. Let's see. So before we round up this class, I want to do something. I want to quickly do a small, like a mini project. Like a mini project for us, and let's just see how all this work out fine. Okay, I think we have less than 5 minutes, right, Jide? We have how many minutes more?
Yeah, we've got like 12 minutes to go.
12 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, can I do something in 12 minutes? All right, so let's just do something. Now, I want to build a virtual machine. And on that virtual machine, I want to host a website. And I want us to see how that website works. I told you, I don't know how to even develop, like, I don't know how to code, but I know how to review code. I don't need to be writing software programming right from scratch, because the truth is, in the coming years, software guys might phase out. Nee said so. Because most of this thing will just be click and drag. We have so many samples that we can use online that people have built. Let me just go to GitHub. Are we all familiar with GitHub? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So from my GitHub, I just want to pick something. Let's say I want to pick website template. Let me just see website template. So this website template now, but first I need to build, that's where my code is. I want to steal the code from GitHub. And this is where this is what I'm going to do. Let me call it free training machine, free training VM. So the essence of this is to appreciate this old teaching of Azure Fundamental. How does it work? Is this something that we can actually, if you're interested in it, fine. So I just want us to understand and appreciate it. That's why I want to do this. So let me call this Azure Tutor. And how many of you have been able to register this Azure subscription?
I just did it.
Jide, is that Jide?
No, that wasn't me. That was
that was me.
Seed.
No, it was me. Warfare.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I think there's something wrong. Can I still see my screen?
No, your screen is gone.
Not anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, it's back now.
It's back, all right. All right, so let me just call this Ubuntu. And how many of you are familiar with Linux? Linux is just like is a server. Are you familiar with Linux environment or Linux machine? Because that's part of the prerequisite that you need to actually delve into being a solution architect or a DevOps engineer. So it is not you just knowing how to click right here and there that makes you, the best. There are some prerequisites. If you decide to follow this route of being a solution architect or a DevOps engineer, so you need to be able to understand how to review code. You need to have knowledge of Linux environment. You need to, all those things are necessary. It is not compulsory, but it is necessary so that it will make your work easy. I don't know if that makes sense to us.
Yes,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So if you can still see my screen, I'm sharing. So this is the process of deploying a virtual machine. You can see, we can check the process here. We are deploying a virtual machine. So after deploying this virtual machine, I want to install, there is what we call Apache server, there's what we call Nginx server, Nginx. So all these things are the ones the software guys use to host their applications, to host their website, web page, right? So if I decide to deploy this, all I just need to do is to come into this machine, install that web page, and go and get my my code from GitHub, put it on it, and host it, and boom, I have my website running. All I just need is to buy a domain name for it. It might sound so simple, but it's not as simple as I'm saying it, right? There are so many training that has gone into that. That's why I feel it might sound so simple to you guys. So let me do this. Can you still see my screen?
Yeah.
All right. So this one that I open is a server, is a Windows server. This is a Windows server. So in this Windows server, I want to enter my Linux environment. So how do we enter Linux environment? Just say SSH Azure Tutor. I didn't remember to copy the IP address. So let me copy this. How I wish you have your own subscription so that you can practice this with me. Yes. So if you've not seen how Linux environment works, this is how it works. You have that interface to type your command. So you should understand all these things, how it works. So all I just want to do, if you want to update, like the essence of me trying to do this update is for me to have an updated machine. So let me just say update. Sudo apt-get update. And boom, I have my machine running an update. Really, a disclaimer, this is actually not part of Azure Fundamental, but I just want us to appreciate what Azure Fundamental can give you. If you have knowledge of Azure Fundamental, you should be able to get to this stage. I believe maybe if you think you want to continue with this class, in Jide will let me know that you can appreciate this. Then we want to install sudo apt. I want you to enter this IP address. Hold on. I want to give you another IP address that I can tweak. Where is my Azure page? So I want us to see something here. Where's my VMs? Okay, I did a test this morning, this test. So I'm stopping this resource and I want us to try this resource 52169. Not to just waste our time. I want us to try this. Can you enter this IP 52.169.152.159?
Maybe drop in the chat.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I want to just know what they are seeing. Has anybody tried that?
Can you drop the link or call out the link?
Okay, 52. Where is it again?
.152.159. It's not.
Okay, 52.169. What did you say?
It's not coming up.
It's not coming up. What can you see?
Yeah, it said can't reach this page. Took too long.
Can't
to
reach
respond.
this page.
Yeah.
Do you know why? Is it only you that have tried that? Any other person? Has any other person tried to?
I think
yeah.
I think you should drop what you copied and start sharing from copy and paste.
Okay. That is it. Can't reach this page. Any other person cannot reach that page, please let me know.
Yeah, I tried it on my side too. It's not going. But I'm not
Okay,
getting
thank
any
you,
error.
Dolakpo. Dolakpo just gave me something. Actually, I'm not trying to even look for the directory because. So let me see. Okay. So the reason why you cannot reach the page is this. Where is my page? Let me show you why you cannot reach the page. The machine you are trying to test is deallocated. Can you see?
Yeah.
It's stopped. So if I start this machine and I want it to be in running, if it is running, then you should be able to access that page.
Okay.
No, it's still starting. I tried this before the class, so just to be sure that that website, all those their commands still exist, their code.
Okay, yeah, it just loaded up on my side now.
Okay, what can you see, please?
A page, Tech Crow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason why that one loaded is because we started the virtual machine.
Okay.
And by default, but there is also a technology behind that. It is not just easy that way. There are what we call ports under networking, why we have to open ports, why we have to, NSG rules, set those rules. Those ones are for the advanced class or when we move along in this class. So, but I believe this has been able to encourage someone, if you know that you want to delve more into this, at least this, what we've done today, should be an eye opener to you. If you know that you just want to sit in your house and be pressing your computer, lazy like me, this is a good deal for you. All right, thank you guys.